You guys can sit down. How y'all doing? Y'all feeling good? I got to come after Rachel, man. It's the second time. It's the second time. Give it up for Rachel, though. She's incredible, right? So, first of all, this is crazy because a lot of people are going to watch this. I usually don't dress like this, to be honest with you. Even my mom, I sent her a text, the picture, and she was like, good luck, but oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh, what? So you have a suit on, right? And I was like, well, usually I always tell people that the only time I wear a suit is at my funeral or my wedding. But I don't have to talk about John so much because all of you know how incredible he is, but I respect him so much that I dress like this, all right? First time. There you go. So I'm going to talk about the cost shift a bit, and if you ever heard me speak before, I'm going to be honest with you. I go all over the place. I have a lot of notes, so wherever I go. Just bear with me. Is that good? All right? But I want to be honest. I might step on some toes, but I think Rachel already set the precedent for that. But literally because I care so much. So the question I want to ask you right now, I really want you to think about this and really internalize this. What are you willing to sacrifice to live your best life? When I talk about best life, I'm not talking about monetary. I'm not talking about followers on social media. I'm not talking about your bank account. I'm talking about living the you that you were created to live, being the you that you were created to be. Think about that for a second. Because the thing that I come across so much in this industry, in this world, people come up to me all the time and say, Trent, I want to be just like you. I want to do what you do. I want to have 8 million followers on Facebook, 1 million on Instagram. And I say, well, if you want to do that, number one is be willing to be embarrassed. Be willing, as Rachel said, to go to nurse. I'm telling you, if you ever want to polish your speaking skills, go speak in front of kids. Seriously. Because they'll let you know real quick how boring you are, right? They look at you like this, like, come on, like I already heard this 1,000 times. And you really have to be your authentic and real self. But for a lot of people, they're above that. I don't want to speak to kids because it doesn't make me look well to the people I'm trying to impress. Let me tell you something right now. The people you're trying to impress probably don't care about you anyway. So why are you trying to impress them? So think about that. Another thing I want to share off the bat while it's on my heart. It's time for everybody here. I know a lot of us cheer and we say, yeah, and we clap, and that's great. But my question is, who are you going to be a week from now, a month from now, when John isn't here, when Rachel isn't here, when I'm not here to motivate you? Because motivation is great, but motivation isn't enough. There has to come a point where motivation comes from inside of you. There has to come a point where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, of living the same old life, complaining about the same old things. I tell people all the time, you shouldn't be watching the same video 3 years later. Because everybody, right, wants to feel good, but nobody wants to make a change. And that's going to bring me to my first point. And let me wrap this around so I can tell you what my point's about. It's about championship mindset. I got a chance to play in the NFL with, anybody know Peyton Manning? Right? I really didn't play when I was on the bench, but, right? I call passes from him at practice, right? Hey, that's like 99% of people can't say that, right? So being in that organization, I was thinking, like when you're I'm always here as a student. Anytime I go someplace, I want to be in the audience. I want to learn, especially with John speaking. And like my mind is going everywhere. I like preparing my speech like 4 times, and I switched it so much because there's so much information. But one thing I realized that everybody in here wants to win championships, right? Raise your hand. See, I want to win championships. Can you say it? Say, I want to win championships. All right. I'm going to ask y'all to verbalize a lot. Energy is big. Championships in your life, and that might be a business, that might be a championship in your personal life, that might be a dream of yours, whatever it may be. But I know 5 truths to winning your championship and having this championship mindset. The first one is commitment. Write this down. And my definition of commitment that I love so much is staying loyal to what you said you were going to do long after the mood you set in has left you. Right? So a lot of us, we made decisions right now, and I'm not going to say making decisions is easy, but making decisions is kind of easy. But what's hard is staying committed and loyal to those decisions. And so for me with my life, right, I had to make a commitment to be the best me, not just for myself, but for those who needed me to be. I want to just paint this picture for everybody here. You might already know this, but there are people depending on you being the greatest you. Parents, you have kids in here, raise your hand. All right. Your choices will become your child's consequences. And I know I stepped on some toes. That should hurt, because when I said that to myself, it hurt. And just even to set that tone, where that comes from. And I'm not going to go into my whole story because I have 20 minutes. But my son was born out of wedlock. My son wasn't playing Tristan, but he changed my life. And it's kind of crazy how what you think is your biggest disappointment, God can turn into your greatest rescue. And so the first thing that I told Tristan, literally, of course he couldn't talk back, and that's like, shout out to all the moms in here that give birth, but Lord, that's a beautiful, ferocious scene, right? I got to walk by and she's like, oh man, like, oh, wow, I didn't know it can do that, right? But my wife, if she watches, you're so beautiful, right, doing it, you're so beautiful. The first thing I told Tristan, of course he couldn't talk back and he's crying and he just stops and looks at me. First thing I told my son, I said, I don't want you to grow up to be like me. As a leader, and you are all leaders, whether you want the title or not, because somebody somewhere at some time is watching what you do. And how are you leading people? Even when I go to the gym, I'm going to be the person that's not going to get off the treadmill before the other person. In the sauna, I have competition. Somebody comes in the sauna, I'm not going to influence somebody to leave the sauna, right? You ever see that? You're in the sauna, somebody walks out, and you want to walk out because they walked out? I'm the guy in here that's having a competition, like, I'm going to stay in here forever. I'm going to motivate you to really lose the weight, right? Because understand, somebody's watching your life. Somebody's watching what you do. And listen, words are great, but words aren't enough. So if you couldn't say one word, if you couldn't post these days, the quotes and everything else, what would your life say? What would your life say if I was around you for 24 hours? And these are things that I taught myself. So I'm not just preaching to you. These are things that I told myself. I said, Trent, if somebody was around you for 24 hours and you couldn't say one word, what would they say about you? Would they say that you're really about what you say you're about? Would they say that you really stand for what you say you stand for? And that would be a question I have to ask you. If I was around you, would you influence me to be a better leader, a better person, a better human being? Because anybody can talk it, but it takes a special person to live it. And it takes even a more special person to live it consistently. Because they say actions don't lie. That's a lie. Anybody can do it sometimes. I believe patterns. I believe patterns. So if you got that, say, yup. Say, yup. Number 2. And you've been hearing this word a lot. Actually, that's number 3. I'll stick to this. Number 2. Something I've seen as a champion through Peyton, through people I've been around, through myself, is discipline. And my definition of discipline is simply this: getting good at saying no to the things that don't get you your yes. And listen, it's easy to say no to things you don't like. That's easy. If I brought you some food that you don't like, that's easy. But if you're trying to lose weight, actually I'm trying to lose weight, and they had like a cherry pie upstairs, and I said yes to it. All right? But I'll pay for it later in the gym, I promise you. But getting good at saying no to the things that don't get you your yes. And I'm not trying to end any friendships in here, but I love to talk about environment in your circle and who you're around, which a lot of the guys talked about it earlier. But I want to be honest with you. Sometimes there's people in your life that do more being an anchor, not holding you down in a good way, but holding you down in a bad way instead of being an engine and pushing you forward. Mindsets are very contagious. But you're around consistently, that's exactly who you will be. So do the people in your life energize your life, or do they drain your life? And this is something you can do later on. Write a list of everybody in your life. And write a E for energize or a D for drain. If they've been draining your life for years, maybe it's time for you to make a decision to remove that person from your life. That doesn't mean that you don't love them. That means that you don't care. That doesn't mean you don't care for them, but sometimes you gotta learn how to love people from a distance. Y'all can clap for that, straight up. Do the people around you pour into and help you see more inside yourself than you see in yourself? I had a guy named, anybody know Dr. Tony Evans? Right? So his son, Jonathan Evans, which is his son, the chaplain for the Cowboys right now. And I'll be very quick with this story, but I never wanted to be a speaker ever in my life. If you ask my father would tell you that Trent will be the last child of mine out of my 3 that would be a speaker. If you know me outside of the stage, I'm a very introverted person. So Jonathan comes to me and says, I want you to speak at my dad's church. And like, you know what, I'm like, who are you talking to, me? And at that time in my life, I'm like, do you see how I'm living? You sure you want me to go in front of your church? He said, yeah. I see something inside of you that you don't even see in yourself. And at that point, I was like, well, I hope you see me getting signed back to the NFL because that's what I want to do, right? And he laughed, and we go back and forth, and he challenged me as a man. He used the magic words to get any man to do something. Are you scared? Right? So I'm like, no, I'm not scared. I'm just not prepared to do it. And I'm sure it's a lot of people that you can find that's better than me, that's more seasoned than me to do this. He goes back and forth, so I asked him a few questions. The first question I asked him was, who am I speaking to? He said, teenagers. I said, no, I'm out. And then he played the same thing, ping pong back and forth. Are you scared? I'll use his mechanisms to get me to fold. And the second question I asked him, I said, how many kids am I speaking to? He said, 5,000. Yeah. It's kind of just throw myself in the fire, right? And so I finally did it. But I'll be real with you. And this is why it's so hard for me to prepare a speech, because I'm super from my heart. I get confused when I come from here. And there's nothing wrong with coming from your mind, but some of us, we're too into our mind. And we're not coming from here enough. So you wonder why some people don't make an impact? Because you can say all the right things, you can dress right, have it all together. But if people don't feel understood, they will never feel you. So I get on there, I prepare my speech the night before like a rap verse. I used to rap then, so I'm ready. I get to the microphone, what do you think happened? Forgot it all. I said 3 words. I said, God, use me. In that moment, I spoke from my heart. After the service, kids are asking me about living for God more and all these things, and how do I be this and that. I'm just like, I should be asking y'all here. All right? Because when I was a teenager, I wasn't here. You might know my dad was a pastor, but that's a whole other story. In that moment, I realized, I say this because I realized that was the moment that I knew that was what I was created to do. I'm telling you, there's nothing better than living your life knowing that this is what you were created to do. So at that moment, I cut off football because I'm going to be real with you. Some of us are holding on to things that we need to let go of. We're carrying the same baggage to a new destination and wonder why we get to that destination, we have the same problems when we unpack that baggage. So for myself, I had to let go of my security, my identity. If I lost football, who would I be? That is my everything. But I realized I had to lose my everything to gain the everything that God had for me. Nobody was watching my videos. I didn't have many I don't even know if I had a Facebook page at that time. Wasn't nobody on my Instagram. But when I made that decision to let go, I kid you not, 2 months later, videos went viral. And it changed my life. But through this whole journey, I never was in it for the perks. See, a lot of people want the stage, but a lot of people don't want to put in the sacrifice. A lot of people want the lights and the glamour and the notoriety and the validation, but nobody wants to go through the struggle. As Rachel told, she had 5 books before she got to that 6th one. I had to go to schools. People told me that this is what you were created to do, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not just the obvious. When I take this off, I'm a tattooed, dreaded black guy. Like straight up, and I'm serious with this. And there's so many people that told me, Trent, that's not going to work in this industry. Change who you are. Cut your hair. Hide your tattoos. One lady told me that I didn't dress like a Christian. I was like, should I wear sandals next time? What? Is that good for you? Gosh, man, people are brutal. But I had all these people trying to change me. And you need change in a positive way, but I had people trying to change me into who they wanted me to be. If I would have ever made that change, I can promise you now, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Don't change for people. Change for yourself. Number 3, consistency. You've been hearing this word all day. And I want to challenge you with this, with consistency. Are you still going to show up when it sucks? See, it's easy to show up when everybody's loving you, when everybody supports you. Are you going to show up when nobody shows up for you? I remember my very first speaking engagements. Like when I threw my own events, literally it was 10 people. And those 10 people were my family and my friends. That's it. But for me, it was never about numbers. It was about impact. I got into this to change one life. You know what that life was? My own. And in doing that, it affected millions across the world, but it was never about how many people's lives could I change. It started with myself. And a lot of people, especially in today's society, is wrapped around numbers. How many people follow me? How many people like my stuff? Like, let me just paint this picture for you real quick with social media. This is simple. I know people who have millions of followers that impact maybe 10% of them. I know people who have thousands of followers that impact all 1,000 of them. Who's making a greater impact? So stop using that as an excuse. Show up when it sucks. Show up when nobody supports you. Even when the people that you love the most support you the least, still show up. And it doesn't make them bad people, but you got to understand, some people will not see your greatness because they're too close to you. Some people will not see your greatness because they're too close to you. I mean, I wish I can do a demonstration right quick, but I got 7 minutes. But if I had $1, right, $1 bill, I always do this. I hold up $1 bill, I call somebody on stage, I hold up $1 bill to their face. I have them close their eyes, I don't know what it is. I tell them to open their eyes. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, I don't know, right? I say, okay, close your eyes. I take a step back. What is this? I don't know. I take a step back. What is this? Oh, it's $1. As long as I was close to them, they couldn't see the value of that $1. And I know a lot of times when you start something new, and you walk out on faith and you do this crazy thing, when people think you're stupid, when people think you're insane, they're not going to see what you see. But I want you to understand something and never forget this. Stop worrying about what they see in you and start focusing on what you see in yourself. Because if God wanted them to see the vision, he would have gave it to them. But he gave it to you. And a lot of people won't see it until you make it happen. Those are the same people that come back and say, I knew you can do it the whole time. I knew it, right? That's how it works, right? But if you have a tribe of people that can see the greatness inside of you when you don't see it in yourself, those people are special, and keep those people close to you. Keep those people close to you. And sometimes the journey is lonely. I lost a lot of friends because when I was up here in their eyes, like success, the NFL, I had all the friends in the world. They knew we were getting the clubs free, the perks. They was there for the perks for real. But as soon as I lost that, I lost them. Rock bottom changed my life because rock bottom showed me what was real and who was real. And to give you a real moment right here, real situations expose fake people, so pay attention. When it gets real in your life, pay attention. When you start winning in your life, pay attention. Do those around you cheer more for you than you cheer for yourself? Because those are the people that you want around you. If you got that, say, yup. Yep. Number 4 is faith. Woo. Faith. Believing the odds are beatable even when the odds say it's impossible. You know what drove me as an athlete, and I'm going to be real with you, is that whole spiel that every teacher gives you in elementary school about it's only 0.1% of people make it to the NFL. And so for me, I was like, well, I'm about to be that 0.1%. What drove me was me telling people my dream and my vision, and them thinking that I was crazy. That can only happen to certain type of people. Who are those certain type of people? Because I'm going to be that certain type of person. But I knew I had to put in the work that didn't show up on the stat sheets, that you don't get recognition for. That type of work. Like I'm talking about the work like you watch a basketball or a football game, you see a guy make a block. It don't say this guy he has 20 great blocks. It don't say that. But those are the guys that make a difference. So in your life, how are you working on the things that don't show up on the stat sheet? Because those are the things that matter most to move you forward to where you want to go. Believing the odds are beatable even when the odds say it's impossible. Faith for me is this. Believing a door is going to open that don't even exist right now. That's faith. Because if you truly have faith, right, you wouldn't just pray about it. You wouldn't just talk about it. You'll be walking it out because faith is saying, I believe it even though I can't see it. That type of faith. That crazy type of faith when you tell people that you're going to London to speak, right? I have to share this real quick. When I realized that this was the purpose for my life and I knew this was what I was created to be, I had a vision that I would speak in Africa, literally. And this was before I was still speaking in elementary schools, which I still do to this day, to be real with you. I had a vision I would speak in Africa. And when I told people this vision, I got this response back. Yeah, you can do it. Right? One of those. I said, all right. I've been to South Africa 2 times. 500 people in each event. And I get this question all the time from interviewers when I go across the world. Are you surprised that you're here? I said, I'm not surprised. You know why? My mindset was already here before my body ever showed up. So it's only about closing the gap between your reality and your vision. And the last step is having heart. Having heart. Raise your hand if you got kids in here again. Amen. Amen. Right? Was that a good amen? Like a good, right? Anybody got daughters in here? All right. Well, I don't know if your daughters are like my daughters. I have 2. I have Tristan that's 10. I have Maya that's 2. So Tristan is like me. Maya is more like my wife, right? In a good way. So we go to this arcade, and you ever been on the machines that, like the claw machine? You know what I'm talking about? You got to win the stuffed animal, right? Has anybody ever won that? Right. It's pretty much impossible to win, right? So we're there. And so Maya, she walks over to the machine, and she says, Daddy? It points to the stuffed animal. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. And I was like, what, Maya? Daddy? So I said, okay, well, it's like saying a prayer for real. Like, God, give me the strength because I do not want to let her down. Because if I let her down, I'm going to hear about it the whole drive home by her yelling and screaming because she didn't get her toy. So I go there. I put it in. I move the claw, which is hard. I put it down. I grab it. So I'm like, yeah, I got it. Pull it up. And you ever notice, like, it jerks, right? So it jerked, and it let it drop. So Maya's like, oh, Daddy. And she's like, Daddy? All right. So I do it again. I mess up. Do it again the 3rd time. I grab it. I get it, pull it up, comes out, and we did it. So I'm on Instagram like, look what I did. Like, I did it for you, right? Yeah. She's giving me a hug. I get it. I'm like, cool. Thank you, God. Like, I do not want to hear Maya screaming all the way home. I turn my back. You know what I hear again? Daddy? There's another one right next to that one. So I'm like, all right. I go over there. I kid you not. I don't know. God was looking out for me this day. I go over there. I put it in. I drop it the first time. I win it. I won 2 of them in like 6 tries. Right? It usually takes 100 to win 2. They take all your money. The biggest scam in the world. I should have went to Google, Rachel. I should have went to Google, probably checked it out and see how to do it, right? It drops. And she was happy. I said, we have no more money, Maya. She was good. She only had 2 hands, so she had 2 stuffed animals. But it taught me something. And maybe you don't have a child, but maybe it's like how you looked at your parents when you were little. I know when you get older, maybe some things change. But it reminded me of something. It reminded me how my children look at me. Especially Tristan still does, but he's at the cool age. But there's nothing that I couldn't do or couldn't accomplish in my daughter's eyes. She saw a hero in her dad. That no matter what happens, as fathers in here, even mothers, your kids don't think you can't do anything. So the question I want to present that I presented to myself, I said, what if I started looking at myself as my daughter looks at me? What if you start being that hero that we're searching for so much in the world that we're trying to be like? What if it's already inside of you? How about you start being the person that you've been called to be, that hero? And how about you give yourself the permission to be great? So many of us have given opinions the permission. We've given our past the permission to control us. We've given our circumstances, our environment the permission to control us. How about right now you try it out and give yourself the permission to be great? Stop sleeping on your life. Stop pressing snooze. Stop saying next week. Stop saying next year. Listen, if you're serious about change, you're not waiting till January 1st, right? Because if you're serious about change, you don't need a new year. All you need is a new moment. All you need is a new moment. If y'all got it, say, yep. But you know what it all starts with? Everybody say, it's on me. Everybody say it. It's on me. Tell your neighbor, say, it's on me. Neighbor, did you believe him? Say it again like you really mean it. There we go. You got to get those eyebrows raised when you say it. It's on me, right? Some of y'all, it's on me. I think so. But seriously, where you go or don't go, it is on you. What you do or don't do, it's on you. You have all the tools. You have all the tools. But when you stop living life like this, and blaming everything else for your life. No matter who's walked out on you, who's hurt you, no matter, even if it's true, right? Maybe the world is responsible for your pain, but guess what? You're responsible for your healing. So I want you to live it, breathe it, be it. I want you to fall in love with progression. And I want you for a fact to make the world respect your greatness. Like I always tell you, it all starts with you. Let's get it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.